you very much. Mr. Paul Stafford, please.
I had the good fortune of stumbling on a document just yesterday that was given to me by a very concerned and good citizen of the community. It's called the Kerrville Comprehensive Plan. It was written in 2002. I'm not an accountant, but I think that's about 8 years ago. A lot of the issues we talk about tonight are still on the table because they have not been acted upon. I haven't gotten past page 9, and I know that there is a water plan in there, and I hope it's the right sort of thing because we do need water. Water is what brought us here, not the lack of it, but the abundance of it. We left New Orleans 5 months before Hurricane Katrina, and if you've ever seen a city absolutely devastated because of bundling by the Corps of Engineers and corrupt politics and no follow-through. And I make no inference that the politics here are corrupt. I think they're far from it. But I do think that we need to give more attention to what we're doing and what our priorities are. And one of the questions from the newspaper that I responded to is, what are my 5 top priorities? And number 1 is water. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mayor candidate, David Wamper, please.
Ma'am, I'll answer your question. To my knowledge, I don't believe we have a rainwater catchment or harvesting ordinance in place here in the city of Kerrville. My personal preference would be to find a way to encourage that amongst citizens who would like to add that to their plans for building or their current structures, and I think it would be worthwhile. What the city has done is, I think, has been very forward-thinking for the last several years. And I want to predicate my comments on one thing. We've talked a lot about the fact that when we're in a drought, or last year, to me, we're always in a drought. This is actually part of a desert country, and we're always in a drought. Sometimes, like right now, we have more water available than others, but we always have to plan for the next dry spell. One of the fortunate features of our geography is the fact that we've got dense sands in places below us that hold water very well. And so we have a program in Kerrville called Aquifer Storage Recovery. We actually have 3 of them in place now, and we have, my understanding is we have a 4th one in process now, which allows us to take water out of the river and to treat it in good times like we're having now, and then inject that water into the ground, and it holds there and stays available for times when we're dry. So we have a 3-part water plan. We have groundwater recovery from the ASRs, we have groundwater production from city-owned wells, and then the bulk of our water comes from the river in times when we're able to take water out. So that has been the response, and I think a very forward-looking response to handling water capacity issues going forward. And I think those 3 legs of the stool are going to continue to be the basis upon which we have our water supply assured for the future. But certainly other issues like harvesting and storage and that sort of thing would be beneficial, and we need to take a look at it.
Thank you very much. And Scott Gross and Robert Keeble both asked for a 1-minute rebuttal. We'll start with Scott Gross. You have 1 minute, sir.
Surprise. As David mentioned, we do have ASR, aquifer storage and recovery wells. I think that the gallons involved number in the billions. I think it's 6 or 7 billion gallons. When we were in the drought, which was a severe drought over the summer, part of the problem was the ordinance itself. It caused us to pull the trigger too quickly. It was an untested ordinance. It passed, I think, in 2002. We've since remedied that. You should also be aware that we're out actively looking for and to buy water rights. And I think it's important for you to know that not only do we have 2 wells going in, but we have a modular system over at the water treatment plant, so it can expand rather rapidly and rather inexpensively. We've got it covered.
All right, thank you very much. Robert Keeble's asked for a 1-minute rebuttal. You have 1 minute, sir.
My question for Mr. Gross is this. If the CCN was such a great idea, then how come 26,000 acres out of 59,000 acres possible opted out of the program? The truth is that Mr. Gross took a similar position at the joint city-county meeting, and when he told everybody from the county how simplistic the issue was, a lot of people got up and walked out and left. the business about, his point about fire protection is simply a red herring. That issue between the black and red fire hydrants could be negotiated in the ETJ agreement if Mr. Motherall and Mr. Letts could ever come to an understanding on it, which seems impossible since they've been wrangling over this for quite some time now. And it's time we got somebody in that position who can actually work with the county. What we did with the CCN issue was to alienate county residents, and that didn't need to be done. There is plenty of alienation existing between the county residents and the city of Kerrville right now.
Your time is up, sir. Thank you. Is there any more questions in the audience tonight?
With regard to those funds, obviously the city council has to verify and to approve funding requests. So they also appoint the members of the board. So beyond that, did you have a particular point, Mike?
David, it doesn't appear to me there's really a distinction between the EIC board and the city council. And that's not the way the legislation is intended, and actually that's probably not kosher. The city council is not designed to have a veto over EIC funds, usually EIC funds. What they're designed to do is approve the arrangement between the city and the EIC for administration of the project the EIC approved. It appears to me like the city council is exerting more influence on approval or disapproval of requests for funds that come before the EIC than they are simply administration.
Amen.
Does that clarify?
Yeah. We've kind of gone back and forth. You know, the EIC, the 4B sales tax corporation formation happened around the time I got here, so going back 15, 16 years, I think we've kind of gone back and forth with regard to the proper role of the council. At one point, there were a majority of council members sitting on the EIC board. To today, I don't believe there's any council members sitting on the EIC board. So I think there's been an effort to try to separate the two. With regard to your question about should the council be vetting funding requests or should they be approving those funding requests, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to answer your question tonight. I would certainly be open to the idea or talking about changing the funding process, and I think that's already been done to a certain extent. You know, my priority and my concern is that we're doing the best we can as leaders for everybody. You know, and that includes the EIC commission and city council. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you very much. Candidate for place 4, Paul Stanford, please.
I'm not accustomed to shooting from the hip. I like to define my target, take careful aim, and then make a decision. This is something that I'm not really up to speed on, so I will pass on answering the question. Thank you.
Okay, Gene Allen, place 4 candidate.
Fred, I think, in my opinion, what you're saying is that there is too close of a relationship there, and from what I know about EIC, I think there definitely needs to be a definitive line drawn in the sand, if you will. Council should not be telling EIC what to do as far as distributing those funds. EIC is appointed by the council. Those folks are screened. They're qualified to serve in those positions, or they shouldn't be appointed. And the system needs to work.
Thank you very much. Robert Petty, place 4 candidate.
I'm not totally familiar with everything that you're talking about, but I know that there's a rule book that the state puts out that governs how small cities our size are set up, and then we develop the processes from there. It sounds to me like you're not happy with the process that probably needs to be changed. And without any additional information, I can't further comment on it.
Thank you very much.